In this thesis and dissertations services video training, we're going to talk about placing a table of contents if you do not have one. For example, if you're not using the template and you're formatting your document by hand, or replacing the table of contents if you've got problems showing up in it. For example, perhaps your file has crashed a couple times and you just need to replace it because you're not getting the results you're expecting to see. So I've got my sample document. It's formatted pretty normally. We're using APA 6 style heading styles. I've already set heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 in our sample text down here. So what we can do is we're going to come up to the table of contents, and all I've done is I've put the heading at the top of the page, and I've typed the word page, and I have it aligned right. So I'm going to come down to the next line, and to get the table of contents to automatically fill in, we'll go to Insert, and we'll come to Index and Tables. And so there are a lot of styles here to choose from. I recommend going with From Template because this is one where you have options to modify. Thesis and Dissertation Services highly recommends using no real special formatting on the table of contents. Plain text, upper and lowercase text is the easiest to read. So this is going to want to start by basing it off of a theme that's being used. TOC1 will equate to heading 1, TOC2 to heading 2, and so forth. So I'm going to modify, and I'm going to change these to be consistent with the body text that I've been using is Times New Roman. There we go. I want it to be plain. You can choose to be single-spaced, double-spaced, spaced and a half. My personal preference is single-spaced with a little bit of extra line spacing after each entry. So to get that, we will go down to the Format button here, and we'll choose Paragraph. And this one's wanting to put space before. I'm going to change it to not auto, but 0. And I want space after. So I'm going to say 6 points after with single spacing, and click OK. So we've got plain text, align left, single spaced with a little bit of space after. Okay. And so I'm going to do pretty much the same thing to this one. I'm going to modify, single spaced. I'm going to remove the bold face. And I'm going to go into the paragraph again. I want 6 points after. And this has already put in a small indentation from the left side. And since this is your second level, it's going to sort of do a reverse stair step in. So that's perfectly fine. If you want them all to be flush left, that's great, but you can't really see the hierarchy that way. This sort of helps you display the hierarchy. We'll say OK. And I've got 5 levels of heading, so I'm going to go through this process for the 3rd level. Okay, so that's all of the heading styles. We'll say Apply. And so now we can see in our sample window here that heading 2 looks a little different than heading 3, so I must have missed something. Modify. I left it without changing it to Times New Roman. And 12 point. Apply. There, that looks more consistent. Now since I have 5 levels of headings, I want to show all 5. So we have everything that'll be heading 1 through 5 will be showing. If for some reason you've got a lot of very into the minutia in your 5th level headings, you can drop it down. If you only want to show 1st level headings, you can control all of that here. But I want to show all 5 just for the sake of being able to show it here. And so now that I've got my sample looking exactly the way I want, I'll say OK. Do you want to replace the selected table of contents? Yes. It'll ask you that whether there's one there or not. And so here we have the abstract and the acknowledgments and all of my sample headings. So one of the reasons you might choose to do single space with a space after is that longer headings like this, it'll keep the lines together and be a little bit easier to read. So that is inserting a table of contents.